Hi, hello. Today I'm going to be talking about everything I read in June, July, August, and September, which is so long. And this is not feeling like the hugest stack, but there's also some on audio and Kindle. To be honest, for a lot of this summer, I was feeling like my reading was super slow. Like I was just not finding books I was in love with that were like captivating me, you know, but looking back, I definitely did read some really good ones. And so I still want to talk about it and share them, but I suppose we can go ahead and get started. I wanted to do this video for some closure, so I can kind of like dive into the fall books and have closure on this weird summer journey I've been on. So, first book I read in June was Funny Story by Emily Henry. I think everyone and their dog has read this book. Oh my gosh, I loved it. Like, I have no notes. I've also read Beach Read and Book Lovers. This was way better. Like, I don't remember them super well, but I know I liked this one way better. I'm never going to share anything in these videos that I feel like is a spoiler. All the things that I say can be found in the back of the book or in the first few chapters. But if you don't want to know anything about the book, maybe skip ahead. But essentially, the premise of this is there's a girl named Daphne and she's engaged to a man named Peter. And there is a girl named Petra who Peter used to date, and they end up deciding to get back together. So Peter breaks off the engagement and Daphne has nowhere to go, nothing to do. She needs a roommate, and she ends up finding a roommate in Petra's ex-boyfriend. So they have both just gotten broken up with by these two humans who ended up together. So they're both heartbroken, living together. And anyways, I'm sure you can guess where it goes from there. I love it because the romance feels unlikely. They seem like two extremely different people who come together, and I tend to like those types of romances better than ones where it feels like, oh, we're just so similar, how could we ever make it work, you know? But this one's like, oh, we're so different that we're actually complementing each other. Anyways, love. Oh, and I rated this one 5 stars on Goodreads because it did exactly what I needed it to do. So moving on. Next, I read The Entire Summer I Turned Pretty Trilogy because the season 3 was about to come out and I was hyped. So it's The Summer I Turned Pretty, It's Not Summer Without You, and We'll Always Have Summer. 5s across the board, no complaints. I wish someone had given those to me as like a 13-year-old because I would have ate them right up. But the audiobooks are really good. If you have not experienced the audiobooks, Lola Tongue, I think is her name, the girl that plays Belly, reads them. And like, of course, they're a little ridiculous because it's The Summer I Turned Pretty, but I had a grand old time. And if you need something to binge, I think I read all of them in like 3 days. Like, I just listened at work and while I was driving, and there are a lot of details and things in the book that might change your view on how things ended up with Jeremiah and Conrad. But I'm excited for the movie, I guess. No idea when that's coming out. Okay, next I listened to Be Ready When the Luck Happens by Ina Garten. Seen it everywhere. It looks like this. I've never watched Ina Garten, which is crazy. I, like 2 years ago, watched the Martha Stewart documentary on Netflix, and for some reason it changed my life. If you have not seen that documentary, please watch it, I'm begging you. It was so good. And then I got into this major Martha era. I'm really in my gardening era too, and I'm trying to learn about baking and cooking and all these things, so love the woman. And so with that, I've been seeing this book going around by Ina Garten, who is like, it seems like Martha Stewart in another font. So I decided to pick it up. I just fully listened to it. She narrates it herself on Spotify. It's free on Spotify, I think. It was good. I think I gave it 3 stars. Yeah, I gave it 3 stars. It was interesting, but it just wasn't what I was expecting. The Martha documentary, one of the reasons I loved it so much is because, which I hate to compare them, like they're not the same, but they're just in the same category kind of. The Martha documentary, it feels like, oh, she definitely grew up like privileged, but it feels like she really really worked so hard to get to where she got, and it was like super inspiring. With the Ina Garten book, it's called Be Ready When the Luck Happens, and so I was like, oh my gosh, like this crazy miracle is gonna happen to her and then she's gonna have this super successful career, and that's just not kind of what it felt like. It felt like she kind of, yeah, grew up very privileged and had the connection she needed to get to where she is today. I've never even watched her show, so I really should watch. I'm still very interested in her life and her, I don't want to say teachings, but kind of like I want to take in all the things about cooking, baking, I love those shows, you know, so I'm very interested to watch. But the book was just kind of like, oh yeah, this kind of happened to you. Like this super successful career she's had in TV shows and all these things feels like they just happened to her almost. So I might have to try her show, but I gave it 3 stars. I didn't think it was bad. Her story's still interesting, and I think if you have watched her like growing up or you're a big fan of hers already, then you'd probably like the book a lot more. I knew nothing about her, and so that was part of it. Next one I read is The Handmaid's Tale, which we know this is a classic by Margaret Atwood. The back literally calls it a 20th century classic. If you know nothing about this book, it's basically a dystopian future where there's like a republic. It's called the Republic of Gilead, and they've kind of taken over, and something horrible has happened where there's very few fertile women, and so they basically entrap the fertile women and kind of force them to be surrogates in important people's homes, essentially. I won't go more into it than that because I think a lot of people know a lot about this book, but I was just like expecting this like life-changing feminist literature, and that's not what I got. It was still interesting, and I'm glad I read it because I wanted to be involved in the conversation just around it, and I'm intrigued to watch the TV show, but it definitely wasn't my favorite book ever. I don't know if it's anyone's favorite book ever. It's more like, you know, 1984 or something like that, where it's just like an interesting viewpoint on where our society could go if certain things happened, I guess. What did I rate this at the time? Oh, I gave it 2. Yeah, fair. Okay, I'm just gonna accept that because it just dragged on, and yeah, anyways. Wow, I feel like a lot of this video is negative. It's gonna get better, I swear. Next I read My Friends by Fredrik Backman. I worship Fredrik Backman. I read Beartown this last winter, and it changed my life. I just have never experienced writing like that ever. That feels so real and so relatable and so raw, and he's really good at making you see the perspectives of everyone. Like, he jumps around a lot, and so even the people that might be seen as like the villain or the bad guy, you see their perspective and you feel for them. He's really, really good at that. Anyways, so that's why I decided to pick up My Friends when it came out this summer. I think it might have come out in the spring, and it was good. I think I ended up rating it 4 stars. I have an expectation issue where I also thought this was going to be life-changing, and it wasn't. But I think I was also in an era where everything was feeling really heavy in the world, and I needed frilly, fun escapism books, not something that felt so heavy. And so that was, I think, partially why this didn't hit so hard. A ton of people really love this book though, and I liked it. I really liked it. It just wasn't like 5-star insane, you know? Basic premise is you're following Louisa, who essentially has had a really rough childhood. She just turned 18 and has gotten basically kicked out of the foster home she was living in, but she's, you know, been jumping around to different foster homes her whole life, and since she was 13 or 14, she had a postcard of a painting that she was in love with, and it shows these 4 boys playing in the ocean. And so you're following her present day, and then you're also jumping back to the story behind the painting and the 4 boys and how they ended up there and how the artist got to the point where he painted that, essentially. So you're on these 2 different timelines, and it's really tragic, I guess. There's a lot of tragedy and hard things happening on both timelines, but there's a lot of themes of found family, I would say, is like the main theme, and coming together, like friends coming together and making life worth living even though everything sucks, essentially. I would definitely recommend this. I would just say it's a little heavy. love Fredrik Backman, still need to read more of his stuff and finish the Beartown series. Next, even though I just said I was done reading heavy things, I picked up I Who Have Never Known Men, this book by Jacqueline Harpman. It has a bookmark in it because I'm forcing my husband to read it now. This book is insane. And there's not much to be said about it because it's definitely best to go into blind. I know this was huge on TikTok like about a year ago. If you haven't read it, please do. It is, especially as a woman, it was 160-ish pages. Once again, I was expecting like this insane piece of feminist literature, and I don't feel like that's what this is, but not in a bad way. This book made me think like a book hasn't made me think in a while. Like it still haunts me a little bit for sure. Like I said, don't want to say too much, but basically you start out, you're in a bunker with, I forget how many, 39 women. And I'm trying to figure out what I can say, like what you learn immediately. The narrator is the youngest of these women, and she has never known life outside of this bunker essentially, or cage. And so her perspective on things is so interesting. I really don't want to say more, but you just follow them through the story, and I would feel like themes are like what makes life worth living, finding community. Yeah, those would be the main things, but it definitely just gave me a new perspective on how I see my life and how I see my world, and I would recommend. I feel like you can get through it in a couple sittings for sure. I gave it 5 stars. Next, I finally listened to my heart, which was telling me to pick up something frilly and fun and chill. And guess what I picked up? Bride by Hazelwood. Oh my goodness. What a journey. What a jolly good time I had reading this book. I have no complaints. I don't know what I was expecting, but this was so fun, okay? Like, my advice to anyone that's like in a reading slump or loves reading but like hasn't quite found their like groove yet with what genres they like, is just stop taking yourself so seriously, okay? There's so many times when I'm trying to read all these heavy books or all these self-help books, and then I pick up something like this and I breeze through it in a couple days, and it makes me so happy. It's something to look forward to. I feel proud of myself when I'm done, you know? Just stop taking yourself so seriously. That's my advice. The premise of this is you're in a world with vampires and werewolves, and they live entirely separately. But the main character is a vampire woman who is basically forced to marry the alpha werewolf man for the sake of like bridging their two communities. And it's just a joy from there. That's all I have to say. It's Hazelwood's only fantasy, I believe, but I believe she either just came out with or is going to come out with a sequel called Mate, and it's about 2 others in this book. So recommend. 5 out of 5. After that, I wanted another Hazelwood because I just had such a good time, and I watched one random TikTok where someone recommended this one. I had never heard about it before. It is called Problematic Summer Romance. And at this point it was like early September, and I was like, I need like a good summery book to give me closure before I start reading my fall books. So that's why I decided to pick it up, and once again, had a jolly good time. What did I rate this? I think I might have rated this 4 stars. Oh, I put 3. I feel like it's like 3.5 to 4. 3.75 if you're on Fable. Basic premise, it's an age gap trope, so if you're not into that, you're not into that. But essentially a 23-year-old girl and her brother's best friend who's like 35, 36, 37, and they have a past and they have to be together at her brother's wedding, which is at a villa in Italy, so best setting ever, and it was just a joy. I have no, like, I would say if you're choosing between the Hazlewoods, especially this time of year, go for Bride, and especially if you're a fantasy girly. This one I just didn't love as much, but still Had a great time. If you're in a slump, you'll breeze through it. It's a beautiful setting. No complaints. I think that's where I'm gonna wrap this video up. That's actually like the start of September. But after that I started reading Manacled. And I have a lot to say about it, and it feels more like a fall vibe. Let me just say, if you are a Harry Potter person, the author, I think her name is like Sen Lin Yu or something, has officially published Manacled as a real book called Alchemized. I read the original Manacled, but I plan to read Alchemized. Don't discount it just because it's fan fiction. Okay, I had the time of my life reading that. Definitely check trigger warnings. It's very heavy. There's a lot of very heavy topics dealt with, but I would highly recommend. But that is all. Thank you so much for joining me. Like I said, my name is Shay. This is Mouse. I'm hoping to do a lot more videos on my reading and my journaling, especially my joke journaling. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.